Fans are frustrated with the officiating again. What's your evaluation at this point? How are the officials doing?
Yeah, I think our officials are working on constant improvement. I think there have been improvements. The recommendation of the Simpson report that we distributed to everyone are being carried out, and this led to different procedures and policies and some more transparency. Certainly, a different kind of focus, increased focus on some of the training and accountability. So I don't know that I could say anything is going to dramatically change overnight. I think the program was considered to be solid, comparable with peer conferences, but significant room for improvement. And the improvements are not going to happen overnight. They're going to take some time, but I feel good that they're pointed in the right direction. That doesn't mean on any given game there aren't going to be mistakes. There's not going to be controversies. Fans aren't going to be upset. I think it does go with the territory, and that's not meant to suggest there's any complacency. Always have to work on improving, but what I can tell you is there's a very serious commitment to improving officiating, making it as good as it can be, and putting the resources in it necessary to make that happen.
It seems like the SEC has been more transparent, though, in its approach so far this season. When you have a game, and it's not about one call, Larry, I understand that, but when last week in the Oregon game you have a pass interference call that draws then an unsportsmanlike on the bench, that they then get rid of the pass interference, which prompted the unsportsmanlike in the first place. Should there not be some level of transparency for the fans, for the programs publicly? Because that call was clearly wrong. It was overridden by that crew, but the subsequent call was because of the wrongness of the first call.
So we've taken a step toward more transparency. I think most of you are aware we really didn't comment publicly in the past. Based on the recommendations from the Simpson report and discussions with our athletics directors, we decided to take a step, but in the first year not go too far and have officiating be the main focus. But we established a protocol, and if there are certain triggers, David Coleman will make the judgment every week about publicly commenting and maybe putting together a video. It's happened twice so far this season. We've had some dialogue about some of the other calls, and we've had some vigorous debate about whether those should have been communicated publicly or not. And I discussed it with our athletics directors recently, and what there was a consensus around was let's stick with the protocol we agreed to for this season, but at the end of the year, let's take a step back, look at it all, and maybe modify, maybe take the next step in terms of even more transparency. So there may be some calls that we didn't comment on this year that people in the rearview mirror will say maybe we should have, and we might make some adjustments for next year, but we've taken a step.
There hasn't been a single comment from a Pac-12 game this season. I think that's the concern, but the crews have made mistakes. And so when you say there's transparency, I think people expect what were those mistakes? What could you do better?
Yes, I mean, I can tell you because now I sit through a review every single week with David Coleman, the head of our officiating, and I can tell you there are a significant number of mistakes every week. The agreed protocol for when we're going to say something publicly about it and put out a statement is if there's a game-ending situation where the call had a significant impact on it, a significant error in mechanics, interpretation of the rules. Some of those things are subjective, but David has not looked through the lens of whether it's a conference game or a non-conference game. This has just been his judgment following the protocol, but as I said, we're very open to reviewing the protocol and maybe going even further next year.
Sorry.